Hey, pop stars, welcome to this week's The Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week's episode is brought to you by Vault. Tammy, have you ever had anything of value that you want to keep super duper safe? Then Vault is the place for you. Whether it's your high valued cash, like you got stacks on stacks on stacks, racks on racks on racks. You want to, keep in a safe place. All your fancy jewels that come from 21 or what is it, Claire's or whatever. All your art, your finest IKEA art, secrets, your cars. You want to keep that little Lego version of that Rolly or that Benzo you got. You want to put it in the vault. And I'm being funny because I'm talking from my financial, where I'm at financially, what I would have to put in the vault. But no, for real, vaults is for the top dollar. I'm talking about those people who got $1 million art and all that shit. But you got all of that. They have a bunch of locations around the world, top secret, hidden. It's not like there's a big sign that says vaults, with top of the line security. For more information, contact them at Vaults, where all your secrets are safe with us. For more information, check them out at vaults.iykyk. So, Tammy, you got anything you would put in the vault?
No, I'm in the same financial situation.
It's one of those places where you got to be screened before they even let you come in. Like, you could take this shit and put it in a safety deposit box. Like, you were paying more for the storage of it than you are actually for the item and to insure it. So it's like, nah, they would laugh me out of a place like that. Be like, you joking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, okay. So this week, we slip into the world of international intrigue and espionage with the Citadel, starring Priyanka Chopra's Jonas as Nadia Singh and Richard Madden as Mason Kane. They star as former lovers and spies who are partnered up for a mission which goes terribly wrong and ends with their entire agency as well as their own memories being wiped out. Fast forward 8 years later, and they are living lives. Excuse me, where they are living lives as shells of their former selves. And then they are reunited to take down the Manticore, the group responsible for destroying their lives before they do the same to the rest of the world. So, Tammy, what did you think of Citadel? Was it a spy game winner or was the cover blown from the start?
It's cute. I would say that overall, the pieces didn't always fit, but it was still an enjoyable hobby to have. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it was a cute little show. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm gonna say it was better than I thought it was gonna be because I saw and heard the mixed reviews on the interwebs, and I try to stay away from the reviews, but there's some stuff you can't avoid. So I stayed away from the major reviews, but and it was a show I think. And there's this whole big debate in streaming now about whether to release shows weekly or whether to do the Netflix model and basically binge it all at once. And I'm kind of somewhere in between. I myself know that I would there's some shows I probably prefer to just watch all at one time. So I was not one of the ones who watched it weekly. I just waited till the whole thing came out because I think it's based on the original, on what I saw on the original takes of the show, and from the first couple of episodes, I might have checked out. But waiting till the whole thing was released, I knew it was there, and I knew that I had more to go, so it was better for me in that sense. Um, but I was excited about the show initially because I love Priyanka as an actress. And I'm also a Richard Madden fan. I think he's a great actor too. So, and they had really good chemistry, I thought. And the show, it was intriguing. Like even the first episode, it was a little bit slow, but I was interested in seeing where it went. So and the whole way that they lost their memories, I thought it was a good take. The story was interesting, and I know Netflix spent a lot of money on the show because it was done by the Russo brothers, the Gray Man, Avengers Endgame, and did the Russos do Endgame? Yeah, I think so. Avengers and all that. So it was this big, big production that they spent a lot of money on. And at the end of it all, I would probably have to say it was worth it. I think they got their money's worth probably. By the end, and I love Stanley Tucci. I didn't even know Stanley Tucci was in this show. But when I saw that he was going to be a regular and an integral part of the show, I was all in because like I said, I just love Stanley Tucci. He's just something. He's probably my secret crush.
Oh.
It's just, huh? It's just
I said,
something
oh.
sexy. He just has a sex appeal. It's like an understated. Like he's not that person that you just see and you just go but he's that person that's just like yeah, like it's just something about Stanley Tucci. He can get it. Let me stop. Okay, that's a different conversation for a different day. But I'm also a fan of him as an actor, so that made it even more intriguing to me. So did you like the story?
I did. So I was one of those, of course. I do it all the time. I watched it. Well, I started to watch it week to week. I didn't realize that it wasn't dropping all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first time I watched it, I actually roped my friend into watching it with me. And so we're watching it. And first of all, the first episode, she hates doing week to week shows. She's like you, right? Like she was like, you tell me when all the episodes drop and we just gonna binge watch this together. And so like I just put it on and I didn't tell her. And so we watched the first episode and I was just like, oh, okay. And I had watched the first episode already. And then the second episode came out. She was like, hold on. Is this a week to week? And I said, yes. And she was just like, girl, I know you ain't just set me up for this. Because she was actually in it. Like by the end of the second episode, she was just like, oh, this good. Like, can you tell me when all the episodes drop? Because I ain't doing this every week. And so I was just like, okay. But what I will say is that I really did overall enjoy the storyline of the show. Like I said, there were some puzzle pieces that just didn't click. It just didn't fit together. But overall, I am also a fan of Priyanka. How you say her name again?
Chopra Jonas.
Chopra. Chopra's Jonas. Okay. Oh goodness, that's a mouthful. Um, but I'm a fan of hers, and then I've loved Richard Madden since. Oh my God, why am I going into a brain freeze? I'm like forgetting everything. Game of Thrones. Sorry, he was the oldest son in Game of Thrones. So I was just like, oh, okay. And then the first episode, they showed their chemistry. Like you saw their chemistry in the first episode with her in that dress and him showing up and them just sitting there and talking. Like I was just like, oh, there's a lot going on right here. Like I don't know, like y'all trying to say about how y'all just spies, but there's a lot more conversation that y'all are having without saying that much.
Yeah, the
So
subtext of that first conversation was like, what the fuck is that? Like, you had a feeling that they had been together,
mhm.
but you just didn't know how deep it went until you build into the story. But I didn't mean to interrupt, but I understand. Like, the subtext of that conversation was
Yeah,
amazing. And it's hard to pull that off.
it
Like,
is where you and then you see later on like what they were really saying in the conversations that they had, right? And it wasn't the only time in that first episode where they did that, where they're having a whole nother conversation in the simple things that are coming out their mouth. And I'm just like, dang, like that's a deep conversation y'all just had. And it wasn't even about what y'all was really talking about.
yeah.
Like it wasn't even like even when they went like when they went to lunch and they're sitting there and they're having the conversation, and even though they did the little jabs at each other and everything like that, like I felt like it was deeper meanings. Like when she asked him a base question, when she asked him a surface question, you could definitely tell he knew that that wasn't the question she was really asking him. And it all goes back to the question that they asked each other when they first got together: can I trust you? And I feel like that was the underlining issue throughout the whole entire series, was them continuously asking each other without directly saying it, can I trust you? And it was breaking each other's trust over and over again. But I will say one thing is throughout the whole entire like season, I could tell like they really loved each other. It was just they had some fucked up ways of going about it, and it had to go back to them being spies and how they were both raised. Because I would just say this: Mason Kane, he has some serious mommy issues, like deep rooted
Do you want to get
mommy.
into that now, or do you want to save that?
I mean, like we get into that now because I was because it played such a role in the fact of that he failed Nadia over and over again because of his mommy issues, and then to find out at the end, which I suspected halfway through, just a
Me
little.
too.
It was like I suspected it halfway through, especially when she said she wanted him alive. I was just like, that's her son. Like I'm just gonna put it out there. Spoiler alert. I was just like, that's her son. Like I said it, and then I was confirmed. And I was like, I knew it because it just. And then when it revealed even more, I was just like, I knew it was him. I knew it was him. But yeah, those mommy issues were deep rooted. That's all I'm
It,
saying.
I think I figured out maybe halfway before. I suspected a little bit, but because at first you're led to believe that his mom died, right? You knew his dad died, and then his mom left. So you figured, like, in the way they did, the way they tried to set it up or describe it, you kind of thought that the issues was his mom left him with his grandma. Okay, we get that. And I think there's a flashback where we see her leaving or something. I can't quite remember, but you kind of get the impression that it was one of those things. His mom couldn't handle the death of his dad, so she just turns to drugs, or that's the image that you're getting, is that typical story. She couldn't handle the death of his dad. Her life goes on a fucking downward spiral. So I'm thinking his mom either died of a drug overdose or some junkie out on the streets or something like that. And then I think, God, when did it click for me? And so then, just like you said, the little things start building up, and you start putting. That's when the puzzle pieces that starts fitting, and then it's like, but am I trying to force it to fit because I want it? And I think the episode that I really knew is when when they stopped talking about her in the abstract, and they flash forward to him, or they flash back to him as a kid with him and his grandma. And it was something his grandmother said in that conversation, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And the more she started talking about her husband, and you realize that it wasn't just her husband, that she actually had a kid. And I'm like, oh fuck. I think it's when she had Bernard hostage, and she was really talking about it, and I'm like, that's her son. And so then at the end when they confirmed it, I'm like, I fucking knew it. But yeah, once you got to that part, it's like, because you kind of get it. He has abandonment issues and the trust issues and just the mommy issues, like you said, you get that. But then when you find out that your suspicion is confirmed, and I don't know what we could call her, Broomhilda, the Wicked Witch of the East, the ambassador to England, like take your pick. The bitch was crazy. She was cold
Mm-hmm.
blooded, but she was crazy. Um, if when you find out that's his mom, you're like, yeah, bruh. And then to come to find out, it's like, because when he goes to see her, you're thinking, oh, he didn't know, but he knew. So it's like he's had contact, like he's known all along who his fucking mother was. He's known all along what she was fucking capable of. His problem was once she did recover from her PTSD, which I don't know if she ever fully recovered, once she got on her feet from losing her dad, his dad, like you kind of get the feeling that his mom was born into money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that was generational money. That wasn't just, oh, I stumbled up on this. That was generational money. So once she got over her mental, like once she got her shit together mentally, if you can say she ever did, I think the fact that she left him with his grandmother is what hurt him the most. Like she never truly came back for him. Does that make sense?
It does. I don't think that he necessarily he knew who his mom was, but I don't think that I think it was a more of you abandoned me, you are nothing to me. Like I got that
Yeah.
feeling on because he was raised completely by his grandmother. And so it was so the mommy issues came up because you gotta realize he knows who his mother is this whole time. I don't think he knew how evil she was because you gotta remember she was an ambassador. She's been moonlighting as an ambassador all this time. She was an ambassador when he went to go see her. It was when she started to tell him the people that I work for, and then he started to realize, like, oh shoot, my mom's more of a badass than I thought she was. Like she bad, like she villain. But because he was so desperate to find Nadia, he was willing to sacrifice whatever. Now that's a warped way of looking at loving, and that means you didn't listen to Nadia when she left you the first time, and she said, "You don't love me if this is what you would do with the love that you have for me." He didn't understand that. He didn't catch that on what she was telling him when she said that to him at that lunch date. But yeah, his mom was she had a warped view of the reason why she was a villain. Like, just saying you like money and you like power. Like, just come out and say you like money and you like power. But instead of her doing that, she wanted to justify it. Like when Bernard said, Thomas would be so ashamed of you right now. And she said, don't put his name in your mouth. You must not know who your husband was, because from what I got was, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, that he was like a philanthropist and a humanist or something like that. That he worked for the lesser person and everything. And what she was doing, she had just a warp. She had a really crazy view of her justification for doing what she did and using his death as the reason why she was burning the whole bitch down. And I was just like, it didn't make full sense to me. I'm gonna be honest, it really did.
I think, and it was one of those questions where it was one of those things where I got the sense that she was truly, that her and her husband had probably one of those once in a lifetime type loves. And she, I'm with you. Like I said, I think that they both probably came from some old money. Um, and he was probably the philanthropist. And especially when she finds out that, hey, that his death, like, it basically came down to collateral damage, wrong place, wrong, definitely wrong place, but wrong time, and that the building that they were in was shelled because of missed coordinates or whatever. That just kind of sent her over the edge. And she didn't know what to do with all of that grief and that anger and that rage that she felt. Therapist could have probably helped her with, over losing her husband. But and it was just, I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something else about that, but yeah. So she just channeled it all, like mother, like son. They just took that love and channeled it in all of the wrong ways. And I loved. Did you like? And it'll probably come back to me in a minute, and I'll probably go back off on that tangent again about about her. But did you like? I loved how they told the story. I loved, like, the one red herring that they did that was really good is, you I was kind of going back and forth for a while about who the mole was. Like, because with him with him not having his memory as long, you knew he did some shady shit, and you knew he was capable of doing some shady shit because of, I don't know why I want to call that girl Abby, but what he did with her best friend, who I don't know how the fuck he ends up married to her. That's a different thing. We can get into that in just a moment. But what he did with her best friend, um, so you knew he was capable of. Yeah, her name is Abby. Wow.
Yeah, Abby is the one he married. Her name was
Yeah.
Celeste when he first met her.
First met her. Okay. So Abby, when he first met her and when they were working together, the shady shit that he did with her, right? But um, so there were moments when it had you thinking, okay, maybe Nadia really was the mole, and it was just the different things. But the secret she was trying to hide was their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that her father was also on the most wanted list because he was a former terrorist, or he had ties to those organizations. Um, so it was just really interesting, like some of the layers. So to me, that was one of the things that worked, like giving her memory back, but him not really having his memory back. And even though she had her memory back, it was like, okay, so you kind of got the ideas, like, okay, maybe it was guilt and she felt bad about what she did, but I never quite wrapped my mind around her being the mole, but you knew she had a different, that she was hiding something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were some things that she didn't even want to tell him without his memory. So it was just like, I thought it was interesting that they chose to give her her memory back, but he doesn't get his back until the very end. And when he does, it's like, holy shit.
Well, that's the reason why, because of
Yeah.
what the messed up decision that he made, and that he was the one that he was looking for this whole time.
Yeah, so it was crazy. But I thought that was one of the pieces that worked, one of the pieces of the puzzle, one of the storytelling telling elements, excuse me, that really, really worked. Um, and speaking of Abby, I kind of figured out how they ended up in the same place because that was actually where he grew up. And I think he just kind of, even not having full memory, I think he just kind of wandered back to a place that felt like home, that felt familiar to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, how the fuck did they end up married? Like, of all the coincidences, and I don't believe in coincidences like that.
Oh, there's definitely something deeper, like how Bernard knew the whole entire time.
Yeah.
He had to have known the whole entire time that Mason Kane was married to Celeste, and that they didn't realize it because neither one of them had their memories. It's just a messed up thing to like what he did. But I feel like, isn't that like kind of a little bit of karma, because he's the one that did that to her, and you end
Yeah.
up with her, and then here's the thing: was that really his kid? Is Hendrix really his, or is she Anders?
Mm.
And he's just like, he just claimed her as his own. I didn't necessarily get that full thing. If because I was thinking, I was just like, is that Anders' kid? And he's just identified like, that's my daughter, but it's not my biological daughter, because Asha is, but
Yeah. I like, because I know at one point he uh he was going Orlick, Stanley Tucci, Bernard. He
Mhm.
was going to tell them, and his wife was like, no, you know. Um, and it was just, it was crazy. Um, and I'm with you. There's got to be, because everyone, when everyone saw, like, their friend, he was like, how the hell did that happen? Like, the dude that they went to get out of the Turkish prison or whatever prison he was in,
Carter. Yeah.
Carter, the black dude. And when they both see who his wife is, he was like, the fuck. And she just was kind of like shrugging her shoulders, like, like, she was shocked too, like, the. And so I'm like, it has to be something deeper into how that ended up. And I'm like, did the memory wash not take with Abby? Like, I don't know, something.
That's
There's
another
something.
thing. Abby still seems very suspicious to me.
Yeah, me too. Like, I don't know how. I don't know how to
I
explain all
think
that.
she could be playing a long game in a way. I don't know. She could, if it ends up becoming in second season that she's playing the long game, I would not be surprised. I'd be like, you know what, that makes sense, because she was very suspicious in this first season.
Because who was there when was in? Did we see her get her memory? We saw her strapped up to the machine, but I know Nadia wasn't there because she refused to be there. Like, Nadia didn't even know it happened till after it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
She knew it was a possibility, but they had originally said no. Then something happened, and I forgot. He changed his mind and he went through with it anyway. He went to the director and he said, "This is what has to be done. And if anybody asks you, I did it myself. Like, you know nothing about it." And so I'm like, but so I'm wondering if he really did it and he just told her, so I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like, there's something that's one of those pieces that doesn't quite fit. And I'm hoping there's more to it than just convenient, lazy storytelling.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Um, so, but, and yeah, the thing about Hendrix, I'm like, is that really his kid? Is it like, was she already pregnant when they met? Did she try to sneak one over on him? Like, so I think in a second season, I would love to see more of their backstory, just a little bit about how they met or what happened. Like, now I need you to peel back some of the layers on Abby because she's not as innocent in all of this as she seems. There's no way, none. So, and speaking of Anders, I love the crazy twins, the psycho twins. Um, and I hate what happened to Anders though. But you could tell Anders really loved her because he was about to turn and help Bernard just to see her again. And I, I was like, okay. And so I'm thinking the one thing Bernard didn't tell him, I'm with you, is that Hendrix may have been his daughter. So it was crazy. But so we'll see. Um, is there something else that you liked, or what's something that didn't work for you? Like, what was one of the threads that you just they kept pulling but never quite made sense? All right, look at that. Got put in the popcorn popper. I think that's what we should call technical difficulties. The popcorn popper. Pop, 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 pop,
Popcorn popper. Popcorn popper.
So
It went
sorry.
crazy. It jumbled us around a little bit, but we good now.
um, so we were talking about Celeste being a possible double agent, and I was saying that I hope it's not just I hope it's something behind that's one of those red herrings and not something that's just poorly done, like lazy writing, or so what was something else that didn't make much sense to you? You were saying that some of the puzzle pieces didn't really connect. So what are some of the others that didn't really connect for you,
I
or
think
that didn't fit?
I think some of it is like characters, right? So
Mm-hmm,
Carter didn't hit for me.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I think it's partly the actor. I don't he didn't connect for me. Playing Carter. Um, so that was one thing. Like some characters didn't necessarily connect, and then others it was kind of like them throwing like how you want to say throwing like big deals at us
mm-hmm.
for the wow factor, right? Or for the shock value. Shock value, that's more a better word. So it's like, okay, she goes on a hiatus for a year, right? Question. Y'all mean to tell me y'all don't go after her for a year, but at the same time, Citadel didn't know that she was pregnant this whole time?
Um, but the person who knew was the director. The black lady, Grace, knew.
So Grace knew she was pregnant,
Yeah, Grace
and
knew.
that's the reason why she didn't push for it.
Yeah,
Okay. Because I
and
was
that's
like,
why she
somebody
kept.
had to have known.
Yeah, Grace knew, and because when she was starting, she said Grace said that this would be it, and that she came back, or basically she owed Grace or something to that effect. But Grace knew. That's why she kept putting him off every time. Like she's just minding her business. Like she tried to make it seem like it was a broken heart, or that she was off on other missions Grace was covering for. So Grace knew that she was pregnant. No one else
Okay.
did, but Grace knew the full truth.
Okay, because I know that she knew where she was, but I was just like, nobody questioned why she just was able to take a whole entire year. That was a little off. Another thing is, how many people knew that her father was on the wanted list, which means that her mom was Citadel. So your mom had an affair with someone from the most wanted list, had you let you know who your father was, he knew who you were, like were you raised with your dad being on the most wanted list? Like it was just certain things. I was just like, are y'all throwing it out there for shock value, or is it going to serve a purpose later on? And I'm hoping that some of these serve a purpose. Like I am hoping that Baba, which is her father, is not dead, because I'm just like, no, I got to know more of this story. Okay, I have to know more of this story of how it ended up her father being who he is, raising her daughter, and never, and I guess he probably thought that she was dead the whole time. He didn't realize that she was still alive, so he was just raising her daughter to raise her. But it's just certain things were just a little off. Like it was like the puzzle piece, I'm putting it there, but it doesn't quite fit. It doesn't quite fit. Maybe there's another one that looks exactly the same that's actually the right piece, and I just haven't located it yet. But certain things were like thrown out there, and I'm just like, is this a little bit of a shock value thing? Now, overall, I did enjoy the series. I told other people to watch it. I told my mom to watch it, and my mom's such a tough critic. She's tougher than me in a lot of things, in watching a lot of things. But I did tell her, I was like, yo, you gotta watch Citadel. Like, you have to tell me what you think of it. because I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased because I love the actors, the main actors, and Stanley Tucci. I'm with you. Like that man is sexy. Okay, like I don't know what it is about him, but I just find him to be really sexy.
Yeah.
Um, but
Daddy energy.
yes. Another thing is, it's like the whole Dahlia's reason for doing what she did, right? And then so you're thinking that she's the head, right? Like she's in charge. And she's really not. Like you're a figurehead who has no power because it's the basically like the five families. Like it's a John Wick thing, right? Where you got like the five families, the high table that is in charge of this. And I'm like, are we going to meet these families next season? Because I would really like to meet who are these richest families in the world that are controlling all of these major events that have ever happened. And here's the thing, is she sure that it was Citadel that killed her husband and it wasn't Manticore that killed
Yeah.
her husband and blamed it on Citadel? That would be a nice twist if she finds that out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like on those were the things I was gonna mention, and that was the thing when we were talking about Dahlia originally. That I was gonna mention, so I will start there with Dahlia. It didn't make sense to me. I couldn't. I'm with you. I couldn't quite figure out her motives. Like we know that she was powerful in her own right because she was an ambassador. She had money. She had the political clout and all of that, right? The fact that she was a corrupt politician, trust me, in our political climate, I think surprises no one. um, but so I'm with you. And I'm interested into me because we saw one figurehead of the five families. We met one of them, the daughter of one of them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she was telling her to be careful because they were starting to question where her loyalty lies. And so that was my thing. I thought the needle that they wanted us to believe Dahlia was threading, especially with these more powerful families. And if you were the information broker or the power broker, like you were the person who got them what they wanted, um, then you know, and she was supposed to be scared of them, then I want to know where their agenda ended and where yours started. Like how much
Mm-hmm.
of your agenda is like were you just using them to get what you needed to result to exact this revenge? And what was the machine for? Like, did they want this sub nuke, or did you want the sub nuke? So that to me, the lines were a little blurry. Um, the lines were a little blurry with that. So that was one threat that didn't quite make sense. Is what where did your agenda end and where did your employer's agenda begin and how did they who was the
Intertwined.
me yeah who how did they intertwine? Were you the means to the end for them or vice versa? So that's something I hope that they can clear up in another season. Also, I'm with you. Um, I get it. Like but where they were in Spain is not that big. It's not like it's the size of Houston, Texas. It's not like you have a lot of European cities that are the size of some of the largest American cities, like Houston, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, whatever,
They're
right?
very congested or condensed. I don't know
Yeah.
that word.
So you're working
Yeah.
at the most popular restaurant in your city, and it's the same city where your father and your daughter are. And with all of your, especially once we find out who your dad is, with all of those connections, you're trying to tell me that y'all never once crossed paths. So
At
that
all.
was, yeah. So that was something that was one to me. That was one of the puzzle pieces that didn't fit. Knowing who your dad was, even if he's out of the game, he's still respected enough and still known enough to be on some of these people's most wanted list. Um, you kind of got the idea that he was semi-retired or whatever, but still he still had power, he still had the connections, he still had the money, whatever. And you're telling me that y'all are in the same city and it's
And
not
you don't know each other.
Barcelona. Yeah, it's not Barcelona, it's not Madrid. I think I forgot, I want to say it's Andorra or wherever it was in Spain. It's a popular city, but it's not one of their largest cities. So you're telling, and you're working in one of the biggest restaurants in town, one of the best restaurants, and you never crossed paths with your dad. And
At
and
all. Or
and
your daughter.
yeah, and of course you probably wouldn't remember them because your memory had been wiped. But you're telling me that your dad wouldn't see you and try to get you to remember or just try to fill in the gaps of who you were. So that part to me never. That was one of those pieces that I was like, okay, that's a big gaping hole. I didn't have a problem with Carter because you kind of know that more than just three people or four people, Orlick and his wife's wife. That was funny. So Orlick and his ex-wife and his wife and her wife, but he still called her his wife. So
It's like sister wives up in there.
yeah, so his wife and his wife's wife, and their daughter, who was really young probably when that happened, but just because they'd been living off the grid, how they raised her and stuff like that. So you had to know that was more than just those five people or three, four, five people who survived from. So the whole Carter thing didn't bother me. But I hope that as they rebuild Citadel, because you kind of have a feeling that if this gets picked up again, that's where it's going, that he has more to do, that we get to see more of him. So if he's just going to be there to be the token brother and the computer, that you already have Orlick as the computer genius. So you don't need another redundant character. So I hope that they will give Carter more to do as we go ahead. Because I honestly didn't understand why they had to go get him after so long. You know, it's like you could have figured it out on your own because you ended up being kind of captured in the desert anyway. So it's like, why did you really need him? I don't know, but
Oh, she just wanted to go get him because he was her friend.
yeah. So, um, you know, but yeah, other than that, I enjoyed it. Got anything else? Anything you really liked? Anything else you questioned? Anything you hope to see?
Well, it's been already renewed for a second season, and I'm just really, really excited. I just hope that we're not waiting like 2 years for the next season
Well,
because that's just too long.
well, see, here's the thing. I was excited too when I found out there was a season two, but the season two is called Citadel, and it's about a different spy.
No, no, no. That's a spinoff.
Okay, the spinoff. So the
Yeah,
spinoff. So you are going to get two. So this, because the way it ended, because when I saw that, I'm like, please let this be a spinoff to them as they're rebuilding Citadel. Let it be a prequel to another spy who's out there. Because and that's what I was thinking. Um, so it's good that it has officially been renewed for the second season because the spinoff part looks really good. The spinoff one. And I'm like, okay, so is she someone who's out there Citadel's rebuilding? Is she someone out there who was out there when Citadel went dark? Because that
it's a
goes back.
prequel one.
It's a prequel one. Okay, so it
Hmm.
goes back to what I was saying. Is like that there has to be more than these five or six people who survived if they have agents all over the world. Because some were in the field. So did you take out every single body? Right.
No
So
way. They can't
yeah,
do that.
you can't. So I'm thinking that there's just more out there somewhere, and hopefully we'll see that as the story goes. But I'm not mad at the prequel. But so, what is something you would like to see in season two?
I'd like to see Nadia's dad. I want to see how badass he is. Okay. Um, I would like to see how Mason, as well as Nadia and Celeste, deal with Mason getting his memories back. And at some point, he's going to try to hide it in the beginning. He's going to try to hide the fact that he was the actual mole. But how are they ultimately going to have to deal with the fact of that woman is his mom, as well as the fact of he's the one that brought Citadel to its knees, like that destroyed Citadel. Like how are they going to deal with that? I'm really, really interested in how they're going to deal with that. I to be honest, I don't want a longer season. I think 6 episodes were actually really good. They were action packed for 6 episodes. Sometimes when you have longer episodes because the show did so well, then all of a sudden you start dragging the story out and start and start telling unnecessary things and details. So I think like they did 6 episodes for season one. I can see them doing another six, kind of like what they did with Jack Ryan. Jack Ryan's kind of the same concept, and just focusing on the aftermath of him getting his memories back. Also, can Celeste get her memories back? Because that is gonna be good.
Well, I think they have it because I think they can do it because the dude said that they had somewhere the way he re-engineered his memories. I think they would be able to re-engineer Celeste as well because they kept Didn't they keep a backup for everyone who they wiped? I
Mm-hmm.
want to say they did or something like that. But I agree with you, and I think that's going to be the most interesting thing, and that's why I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, please don't let this truly be season two, and you end it this way. Um, the sixth episode thing, the more I find out about the writer strike and just how dirty the streamers and stuff try to do them, I'm like, eh. But I have mixed feelings about that. Again, a different story, different day. We'll talk about it on the next episode, the wind down or something like that. But it's really interesting. Anyway, um, so I agree with you. I want to see what happens to Baba. I kind of want Baba to have. It would be interesting if the prequel was about her mom and Baba, but you know. But anyway, I would love to see how he's going to go about how Nadia is going to feel about the fact that it was all unjustifiably done in her name. Because he did it because he was looking for her, and the people at Citadel would not give him the answers he thought he deserved. And then he was a punk ass coward anyway. Truth where she was and why she disappeared. He didn't do anything about it. But then he shows up on the train. So like, was he trying to show up what was happening from happening? You know, um, he and once it went bad, did he kind of have the idea? Think that under the premise that he and Nadia still ended up together somehow, but it's like when they were separated, it was like, oh, so even if their memories are white, they would be together and kind of cling to each other, and just the way everything has spun out of control. You know what they say, oh, what a tangle web. So I think season two would be really, really interesting. And I hope that they can make some of these pieces fit a little better, answer some of the lingering questions that we have about the show. But yeah. So overall, what are you rating it? How many popcorns are you giving it?
So I'm gonna give Citadel 4 popcorns. I really, really enjoyed it. The first 2 episodes fully pulled me in. Like I said, there were some puzzle pieces that didn't necessarily fit, but overall, it was a very, very enjoyable show, and I've already told a lot of people to go watch it. So I'm giving it 4 popcorns, and I'm very, very excited about season 2. What about you, Eddie?
I'm right there with you. I may have spilled a little bit more on the couch, or on my way, bear tripped me and some fell on the floor. He ate it up. That dog, that baby. But so I'm giving it 3.75 popcorns. I have recommended it as well. I enjoyed it as well. Um, on one hand, I kind of wish it would have been a little longer, but then it's like the six kind of fit in because you don't want it having to try to waste time filling in too much hole or too many fluff episodes. So, 7.5 is highly enjoyable, and it's I really, really hope. But to go back to something you said earlier, with the writer's strike and a possible actor strike coming up on the heels of that, and the directors not being too happy with it for them, we might have to wait a year or two before we get season two. So um, just putting the prequel. We'll have the prequel to keep us warm in the meantime. Anyway, that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Please be sure to like, listen, follow, and comment on anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment, pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the Popcorn Wind Down, which I desperately need to update. I will get on that for you guys. I promise I will. That's it.
Pop, 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 pop.
Thank you as always. Be sure to join us next week when we review. I'm excited for this one. Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Were you a fan of the early Transformer movies, like the early knots, 2010s with Shia and Megan and Megan
Oh, the
Fox
ones with
and
Megan and
Shia LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah,
Yeah, I love those. I liked them up
yeah,
until Megan left because I thought it went downhill when she left.
yeah. Was she in three?
She wasn't in 3.
She was
That
in
was
three.
your dude's girl.
Who's girl? Oh, Rosie Whiteley Huntington or Whitley Huntington. Statham.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then someone asked me about five, and I'm like, with Mark Wahlberg, and I'm like, they're a big Mark Wahlberg fan. And so we watched the trailer because I own them all. They're part of the collection. But I was like, yeah, Five and Bumblebee did not. Even though I love Haley Steinfeld, Bumblebee did not do it for me. But I've already seen Transformers, so I am interested to see what you think of it. If we're going to agree or disagree. I will say already though, the soundtrack was banging. Like it just, I was that fool that was sitting there just bobbing my head, dancing in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with
we
you on that part.
we will see how. So to tune in, see when she says that she's good at playing. She's good at playing, holding her cards close to the vest. So I don't know if this is a poker face, like, ooh, we're going to agree or disagree, or if we're leaning the same way on this one.
We
Uh,
shall see.
we shall see. To find out, you're going to have to tune in next week. So until then, be easy and breezy in the summer. Stay warm. Don't fall out like the dude who was marching on the King's Parade because it got up to 85 degrees in England. But
85. We be getting up to 110 here, but
I
please.
know, but I was like, well, maybe it's that big ass fur hat that he had on. But anyway, and the worst
Touche.
part is that the band kept marching around him like homeboy was not passed out. So anyway, until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.